Hey everybody, I'm Tommy, and you are on the lifeboat. What's happening, people? Sorry for all the confusion around the scheduling of this. I spent the majority of the morning helping a friend who was in the hospital, and I've been ducking back and forth. It's not me. I'm not in the hospital this time, but someone else is, and I've been back and forth most of the day on that. So I apologize. Jeez, couldn't get here to get that taken care of, and I don't know how to do it from the phone. The best I could do would be the computer. So I apologize, but I did want to go live. I'm probably going to head down there. It's not going to be a super long show, but I did want to say I told you so. If you've been following the Diddy verse, if you were in it at all, then chances are you've watched people do the panic thing. You know, Sean's walking. They're not proving anything about the RICO case. There are talking heads even today who are saying they're not proving the RICO, right? They're not proving. I don't know what transcripts these people are reading. The pews, the guns were pulled out in the courtroom. The jury saw these guns with large capacity magazines. This is a big deal, folks. Those obliterated serial numbers and large capacity magazines are on the table. That is going to be a problem. This goes to proving you have to have two predicate crimes. You have to have two within a 2-year period of time. I mean, a 10-year period of time. You have to be able to prove that the person committed basically two felonies that would appear on the rackets, right? Like considered. Racketeering, like that, all of those crimes, murder, arson, anything violent, those guns would definitely fall underneath their gun charges, gun crimes, or gun charges, especially something with a tampered or an obliterated serial number. Hello, Maria, Lisa Trimble, good to see you. Cindy, what's happening? Sunny, how are you? Good to see you, Maria. Angel, glad that you're here. All they have to do is prove two. I believe they definitely have. Yeah. Now they're going to also have to prove that the sex wasn't consensual. And I keep hearing all of these people, the talking heads, who say, this could just be domestic violence. No. And to me, this seems really cut and dry for why it's not domestic violence. We have to, one of the elements that they have to prove would be coercion. We heard testimony from the mother, from Cassie's mother, that said after he would beat on her, if there was an argument or whatever, he would take something away every time. Take away the Jaguar, take away the keys to this, take away this apartment. He was showing her exactly what happens when you step out of line. And your entire career, your stipend, the money that he gives you every day to live on, right? I'm sure in the beginning it was exciting and it was fun. But by the end, she was just a sex worker working for Sean Combs. And now other people are backing that up, right? And the employee that took the stand, this used to be an assistant for Diddy. He took the stand and he said some pretty wild stuff, right? It's really kind of crazy stuff. But one of the things that gives this guy a little bit of credibility in my eyes is he had a really weird experience with Sean, right? Sean Diddy Combs. And in that weird experience, they were chasing after Suge Knight and jumping into a car with a bunch of guns. It was a very frightening thing. If you just thought you had a gig as a personal assistant to a musician, this had to be really, really tough. You know what I mean? This had to be this had to be ugly. Hold on one second. Haven't they proven the history of violence and causing fear? Yeah, I believe they have. The talking heads don't seem to believe that they have, but I absolutely think they have. So what we're going to see is more employees, right? Make no mistake. One of the questions today was, how come you didn't tell the prosecution? This is the personal assistant. How come you didn't tell the prosecution about this when they asked you these questions a long time ago? And his response was, I got to get a lawyer. Right? Ain't no way I was going in there and talking before I got a lawyer. Right? Read between the lines. And what he's saying is, I committed a bunch of crimes, man. I'm not going to come down here and talk to you about the things I've done. Right? Crazy. But They're going to spell all of this out. This guy was fantastic on the stand. He was, he had no problem backing down the prosecution, and there was a lot of gems that came out, like just the fact that this, as a company, here's a guy you hired, and you say to him, "Get in the car. You're coming with me. Grab a piece, right? Get a gun. Get in the car." That's not business. Okay? That's not business. I don't care what line of work you're in. That's not how work is usually done. Bodes really well for the guy's credibility, because right after this night, he went, "Nuh-uh, I'm out. See ya. I don't want to work for you anymore. I don't want to have anything to do with anything," right? Yeah, it's she was scared to lose it all, including her life. It's way different when you're in it as well. Once you get out, if you're blessed enough to, you realize what you were really in. And I'll tell you what, when it was all over and Sean Combs broke up with her, did she get a severance package? Did he give her a bunch of money for the time that she worked with him? Apparently what he did was he said, she owes me 20 grand. Right. And according to testimony today, Cassie's mother said they took out a second mortgage type of thing. They went and got a bank loan on the house so that they could give the billionaire $20,000 that apparently their daughter owed him. This guy's just the more you hear about him, right, the more disturbing it is. There was a sex worker that went by the nickname The Punisher, and he took the stand today. And he wanted to say he was not a prostitute. This guy didn't do this for a living. He's a dancer, and he would go out and party, and he liked to get into cool parties around famous people, and he liked to help make things more sexy kind of environments for people or whatever. Trust and believe, this dude knew he was getting paid to have sex. He just doesn't want to say that crap on the stand. But I don't think anybody in the audience was buying into that. But he said something really odd. He said that they were trying to use different names, right? And Cassie was using the name Janet. Janet Combs? Isn't that Diddy's mom's name? Janet? That's creepy as hell, man. If you're a guy listening to the sound of my voice, I want you to briefly imagine telling your girl who you're about to have sex with that you intend to call her by your mom's name. Okay. Anybody that just finished vomiting in their mouth, this is just a really rugged concept. And it gives you some kind of an idea of the pathology, what had to be going on for this dude to end up as jacked up as he is. And I'm not doing the bleeding heart thing and saying, I feel really, really bad for Sean Combs. But make no mistake, Sean Combs got wrecked when he was probably 4 or 5. People like this, I don't think they're born, man. I think they're created. And this guy is guy's a monster, and he has become the embodiment of evil for all that is Hollywood, almost to the point where it freaks me out a little bit. I don't want us to lose sight of the evidence. When you get feeding frenzies, when it just gets crazy like this, a lot of times people will get convicted simply because that tape that they watched of Cassie getting beat up was really tough. But I will say this. A lot of talking heads and a lot of lawyers have come out and said they shouldn't have come so early in the trial with Cassie. Now, Cassie's about to give birth. I think it was probably had a lot to do with if they didn't get her in quickly to do her testimony, they were afraid she might give birth and then wouldn't be able to take the stand. And this is a pretty vital part of their case, obviously. But I do believe that under any circumstance, this was the best possible case scenario. I think that you parade her out there, you show that video, and then you ask her difficult questions. But the takeaway from her testimony, I didn't watch it, I read it, but the takeaway from the testimony leaves you wanting to cry. And I think if the 12 people on the jury had to hear her saying it, I would imagine this was really emotional for all of those people. And that's not something you're going to let go of over an 8-week period of time. And trust and believe that video is going to be talked about again, probably closer to the end. And they may show it again. I don't think we'll see Cassie again, obviously, but pretty wild. Get that out there. get these people to where they're really angry at Sean Combs. And they did a hell of a job with that. And now they're bringing in people who cut deals. Let's keep it real, right? All of the people that are going to be coming up on the stand, in the near future, cut some deals. These are some people that were in the game, right? If you're in there doing dirt with Diddy, you're either going to be testifying against Diddy or you're going to be the next person that they're going to go after. And here's the thing: if you're listening to me from another country and that sounds like it's crazy and it's blackmail-y and all of that, yeah, that's our system, though. That's our system. In fact, I promise you that FBI agents, I promise you, sat down with people and said, "You got two choices, and one is you're going to be a defendant." Right? That usually will get them to go. I'd like plan B. How about the one where I don't have to become a defendant? So who we really want here is Sean Combs. Right? He's the big dog. He's the evilest of them all. We want him. If you're willing to testify, we could probably not take a run at you for some of these charges. But as far as predicate charges, those guns are damn good. Those are felonies. Those are felonies. Depending on what state they found them in, I don't know. Certain states will enhance the hell out of a felony if you got a large capacity magazine. That's kind of a federal thing, but each court is different. Like if you're in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, we break our appeals courts into 9 circuits. The Ninth is notoriously liberal, and it's where all of the inmates want to get their trials. I mean, they want to be in front of those judges because you have a much better chance of your stuff coming out on top. Yeah, absolutely. Right. Absolutely. So, Tommy, do you think that the way Diddy is all addictions of some type? And is that like drug addiction? Absolutely. Here's the deal. This gets confusing for a lot of people, but just real briefly, right? Very often, depending on what chemical you're doing, you're getting high off your own brain chemicals. It's just a key, right? The heroin goes in there and attaches itself to a receptor, turns the receptor like a key in a door or turning on a faucet. Now you've got your chemicals getting you high. They can get you high a lot of ways. There are people that don't use drugs and they achieve that through yoga. And there are people that achieve that by running 15 miles and they get that runner's high and they don't feel their legs and they feel like they're just, floating. And then there are people, right, who like to pull the wings off of insects as a kid, right, and are cruel to animals and just start out. Something happens, right? Something happens. I don't know that we're ever going to figure it out, but something happens. Maybe mom smoked a cigarette when she shouldn't have, for real. Because at some point when guys like that are getting formed, there's a screw loose. And I've heard this said a lot of times. If you think about it like a gun, right? The genetics is going to load the gun, but your life experience is going to end up pointing that gun at somebody, right? And then there's going to be that break, which is going to to end up pulling the trigger on that thing. Yoga, running, oh my God. Well, look, I'm not saying it's for everybody, but there are people, I promise you. And this is, there are people who literally can release chemicals in their brain. They can alter their brain waves. There's a lot of really fascinating research that's coming out of meditation. And I'll tell you what, nobody shit on meditation more than I did. Nobody. I'm just not, I hate the idea of sitting in silence. First of all, I don't like silence. I way prefer sound. So there was a lot of things about meditation that I found really, really difficult. And then I started to work with somebody who was a lot smarter about it. And I said, I can't keep my mind clear. That just doesn't happen. There's always something firing through it. He's like, yeah, just don't hang on to anything for more than a couple of seconds. And I started with that kind of work and then backed up from there. Hot peppers will absolutely give you a buzz. You will get an endorphin dump because you're burning your mouth so bad that it thinks you're going to die. But in answer to your question, absolutely, he was getting a buzz off of what he was doing. He obviously really got off to watching his whatever girl he was with at the time. He wanted to see her get abused. He wanted to have complete control over somebody this big, right? Instead of somebody this big. He wanted complete control over a very large male tool. And he was going to tell that person exactly what to do. And if the person finished too early, he didn't get a bonus. Like he was in control, full control, but not in control. And apparently he'd wear one of those like hijab things. He would, this is in the testimony, no joke. Like he would come out like the women in burqas type of thing, where the only thing you could see is his eyes, buck naked, except for that. Man, I tell you what, you know, if you're a sex worker, you kind of know you're going there for a freak show anyway. Cassie, you know, calling herself Janet, yeah, answers the front door in nothing but a bathrobe, which probably wasn't, you know, a bummer at all. But then you see the diddler, right? What the hell he's doing? Where? I mean, I understand he doesn't want people to look at him. Tommy Bird. Yeah, I get that too. In my experience, it's hard for me to clear something that was void of anything meaningful. Yeah, and I get it. I absolutely get it. But this is the kind of stuff that goes on in the brain is fascinating. You can look and see what cocaine does to someone's brain, and gambling, especially at one of those like machines when you see the people play video poker, or they play video slot machines or whatever. That what's going on in the brain between the person doing blow and the person sitting at that machine is almost identical. It's the exact same thing. And the people in Silicon Valley got a hold of that and coined the phrase dopamine hit. Since then, the greatest computers on the world are trying to figure out how to keep us watching for as long as possible, right? They want to make sure that they can maximize us sitting in front of that screen for as long as you can, because that right there, that they'll pay you anything for that. And you figure out that little trick, because that is all they're trying to figure out. So to keep you from leaving, they meter out dopamine hits, right? And it comes in a lot of forms, especially doing the social media thing, right? They have documented that just getting likes. I got 45 likes on that post. There are people who catch a buzz off of that, literally. And it shouldn't surprise us, right? A malfunctioning reward center of the brain. That's addiction, right? It's your brain that starts hooking you up for doing something that it should be scolding you for. Instead of yelling at you and telling you to back off, it starts handing you a few 5 spots every time you do something wrong. It reinforces bad behavior by making you feel like what you just did was incredible. So imagine how much worse it would be if you could play chess with human beings, right? If you already have that predisposition to being a control freak, and I don't think anybody doubts this guy's a control freak. In fact, if you don't believe that he's a control freak, read the descriptions that people are given from inside the courtroom. This guy's jumping out of his skin. He is literally being tortured because he cannot control what's going on in this room. And the narcissist that he is, in my humble opinion, is in there going, if I could do this instead of this shit lawyer, this case would already be over. I could defend this better than he can. I promise you. That's what's going on in Diddy's head, because he's a control freak. He doesn't, by all accounts, he doesn't like giving up control of anything, right? He was very diligent about following Cassie, putting trackers on her, all this stuff. Rumor has it Kid Cudi is going to be testifying this week. And if you watched for any length of time, we talked about him last summer, right? And it's he had the car, the Rolls Royce that got blown up. That's if he comes in and testifies that is another very serious, like, this is just domestic violence. Your boyfriend just blew up someone's car because I talked to him. Huh? Right? My girlfriend just blew up someone's car because I talked to another girl. That's not domestic violence, right? That's a really sick person. But if they could order somebody to go do it, just pick up a phone, make a call, and get that car blowed up, well, then that's an enterprise, right? That, people, is a recurring criminal organization. Make no mistake. It's racketeering. It's everything bad. And there's a whole list of them, and he's ticking them off one right after the other. The prosecution is going to prove a crap load, right? All the people that go, they haven't proved anything on the RICO thing. by the time they're done, what are we in, a week? They estimated this could go 8. They're 1 week in. Man, do you know the number? I promise you, the number of employees that they're going to parade in front of the jury, and they're all going to say the same thing. He told me to do this, and I did it. There's testimony that came out that there was a picture of the diddler up on the wall. And when this personal assistant came in, somebody else pointed to it and said, your job is to serve him. Huh? I got news for you. I show up somewhere and they tell me my job is to serve some dude, right? Who is going to be signing my paychecks. I'm beating a path out of that interview or out of that office or out of that house or that recording studio. Just ugly. This is a great question, Taylor Miller. Is it possible, right? Can Diddy's lawyer stop him from taking the stand? I just can't see him not biting at this. Yeah, chomping his bit. Absolutely. To get there and tell his truth. I believe that it would be absolutely awesome if he took the stand. It would be awesome. It would be days of the most unbelievable, but I don't think I just, as hard as this is going to be on him, I mean, if he takes it, tell you what, if he takes the stand, Taylor, it's going to be because this is going to be the Hail Mary. This is going to be the desperation, right? Who the hell was it? Boston College, right? At the end, that Boston College game with Doug Flutie, no time on the clock. And they need to throw 106 yards to win. If they know that they've gotten stomped out, then he might just take the stand. However, it's going to be, hold on a second. I don't think there's any chance that if he wants to do it, they're not going to be able to stop him by trying to talk him out of it. But I think that, if they could communicate to him that you do realize that once you get on the stand, they can ask you anything. I mean, they're going to tear into you. It's a very wide field of questions that they can play with, man. You're opening yourself up to get, just tattooed, right? Let's get the dopest nerd subject. Let's talk about shooting Natanya Rubins in the face. They can start asking questions. Tell me about J-Lo. Yeah, he'd have to be insane to take the stand. That said, I think you should, if you're religious, maybe light a candle, say a prayer that he's losing that bad by the end of this. Can Diddy take the no, it would no. I think the simple answer to that is no, right? You if you choose to take the stand, you're going to have to answer questions. It's when people plead the fifth, it's usually in hearings. That's my understanding. If there's a lawyer that can explain that better, but I never got to plead the fifth. Nothing ever wasn't an option. But no, I've never seen it happen in a if someone is called and they don't want to be a witness in this case, right? So Sean Diddy Combs is on trial for murder, and they find a friend of his, and they force this cat into to court to testify. He can get in there and say, "I'm not answering any of these questions because if I do, it's going to incriminate me. So I'm going to invoke my Fifth Amendment right." Very often, if you really want Diddy, the judge can then go, "Tell you what, we'll just grant you immunity, and now you can't plead the fifth because whatever you were going to tell us, at least for today, you cannot get charged for this." It's an okie doke, by the way. I promise you, it's an okie doke. If they tell you that you got nothing to worry about, ask Keefe D about that. Ask Keefe D about that. He's sitting in jail, and he thought, I promise you, he thought that when they said, you have immunity on this, they didn't say that immunity disappears when you walk out this door. You were getting immunity to whatever you told us in this room today. So if you get back out there and start running and gunning or whatever, and they pick you up and can build a case against you, but not use anything that happened in that room. You feel me? So a lot of times you're just going to turn the FBI onto you in a really big way. And if they don't like what they hear, they're going to find a way to get you. Now, they won't be able to use anything that you just said, but they'll find something. Yeah, you know what? I do not doubt this, man. B Lady says, "Wow, wonder if that would hurt him or help him." I don't think Diddy has the disposition to spend 2 days uh, on the witness stand. I don't think he's cut from that cloth because all that they would have to do. You've probably seen the A Few Good Men, right? When he needs to get Jack Nicholson's character really riled up. I think Diddy could end up getting really riled up, and they could start with, let's talk about that city college thing where you killed 8 people, right, or 9 counting a pregnant woman's kid. He'd start losing it then. I don't see him being able to sit there and just answer questions because he is a control freak, and just the act of being cross-examined, you're giving up control. Watch anybody on the stand get picked apart by a good defense attorney. Your will is not going to be done on that stand. And never get this messed up, right? The person on the stand isn't testifying. Not the defense. That lawyer's testifying. He's putting on the show. And his job is to slap around, Diddy with some of the facts. But it's his chance to testify. It's his chance to creatively tell this story by asking specific questions in specific orders to paint a picture, right, of exactly what it is they're doing. And a lawyer that's good at it is terrifying. Or terrifying to watch somebody really, really pick someone apart. If you've been a law nerd forever, right, if you've been doing this a really long time, Jeffrey Feiger was a lawyer that represented Jack Kevorkian. He had a lot of high-profile cases, but he got Jack Kevorkian off, right, for killing I don't know how many people with his suicide machine. He would assist suicide for people who had ALS, people who had different, but great attorney. And then one day, Dr. Kevorkian decided he would just represent himself on the last one because he was a bit of a control freak too, and he thought, I can do it as good as Jeffrey. He didn't. First time they charged him for one that he didn't have a lawyer for, he went straight to prison, which ought to tell everybody something. All the people that you see in the videos, when they say, if you represent yourself, you have a fool for a client. It's so much worse than that, right? It's so much worse than that because it's not just that they don't understand the format of how everything gets put together. They may know exactly what needs to happen, but because they don't know the proper rules of conduct in a courtroom, they're never going to get those questions out. Lori Daybell was not bad at it. Lori Vallow wasn't bad at it because I think she's been through 2 or 3 of them now. In the case of the defense, just throw them back in the cell. That's pretty funny. Yeah. You can plead the 5th, and then you can treat your ass as a hostile witness, or in the case of the defense, put you back in the cell. Yeah. What's really funny? In prison, I was running a poker table. And the guy comes up one day and he goes, "Hey, the money that's on my books, what I was writing down for how much I owed him or he owed me, the poker books." He said, "Hey, the money on that, I'm not going to be able to pay it for about 2 weeks." And I was like, "Okay, no big deal." I said, "Why, you a drug runner? You partying?" And I was just kind of being a smart ass. He's like, "No, I'm going out of town." This is a dude in the prison. I go, "Going out of town?" I said, "What, fishing?" And he goes, No, I'm serious." He goes, "I got to go up to Tucson." We were in Phoenix. He goes, "I'm going up to Tucson." He goes, "But they want me to stay up there for the duration of the trial." And I go, "What are they charging you with?" And in front of all the fellas, he says, "No, I'm a witness," which, needless to say, does not go over well with the fellas. And he might not have been ratting on anybody. Maybe he was what do they call him? An expert witness. Maybe he was an expert witness. He was going up there to talk about something else. Yeah, you know what? This from your lips, right, to his ears, but there's no chance, once again, of this happening. He needs to become humble. He's still not there yet, which is bizarre. Still too big of an inflated ego. Thinks he's untouchable. With that attitude, they would slam him on the stand. Yeah, he would be in so much trouble on the stand. And this sums it up. But there are people who are incapable of being humble. I don't see Sean Combs pulling off humble. Um, Regardless, I would imagine that he walks around the same if he's got no money and he's in a unit, or if he was walking around mansions. He's damaged goods, people. He's damaged goods. If any, even minor amounts of what we heard, they were talking about the incident with Usher, where Usher was there and Jimmy Iovine. There was like 8 people at a restaurant. I believe it was in L.A. And Puff and Sean Combs and Cassie were arguing, apparently, and he punched her in the stomach, like doubled her over in this restaurant. Just a good stomach shot. I told that story on this channel a long time ago, right? Because that got leaked out, and that's a story that a bunch of people have heard. We talked about it a long time ago. The talking heads are bringing it back up, and there's, what's the takeaway from this? And the takeaway is, he used to whoop up on her so damn often, right? That 8 stand-up cats are in a room watching as a woman get punched in the stomach and doesn't do a thing. Not one person in there went over and went, "What are you doing?" Not one person dialed 911. Not one person got a bouncer or did anything. That's not something that you just are cool with the first time you see it happen. See, the first time you see that happen, it'll shock the shit out of you. And before your brain even kicks in, you'll be over there in that guy's grill going, "Hey, no, you're not doing that, man. Not going to happen." And usually right around that time, 2 or 3 other people will grow their testicles at the same time. And all of a sudden, there'll be 3 people pushing up on him, right? But that didn't happen. And it's not because he was, richer than everybody. I promise you, there were some ballers at that party. Right, what's his name? Started Interscope Records. He's the ends are meeting. Talking about some really rich dudes. No, man, it's just that they've seen it so many times. It's like, it's like anything else, right? You get used to it. You get accustomed to it. That's just Sean and Cassie, right? And you can say it's just domestic violence. Yeah, domestic violence people. They don't go and blow up your new boyfriend's car. That's gangsta shit, right? They don't have weapons with obliterated serial numbers and extra large capacity magazines just laying around, right, for the next time that they need to go chase down somebody in their car. And you don't grab an employee who thinks he's a personal assistant and turn him into one more member of the bodyguard crew by forcing a gun into his hands. If you just have a normal relationship, you happen to run a criminal organization. Now, he may believe in his heart 100% that this isn't a criminal organization. He might just say, we weren't doing any of that. But he was beating on that woman badly, right? He was paying people to fly in to places like, Saint-Tropez and all over the world. He's flying these cats in for free calls. And when they're done just having a good time and sharing the whole sex experience, he hands them a wad of money. And he hands them a smaller wad of money if he can't perform for a long enough period of time. And who knows what that means to the diddler. I mean, obviously, if these things go on for days, really wants to see this person hurt. It is way more than beyond domestic violence. He had at his disposal an army of people. When he punched Cassie and she looked all beat up, and he said, Cassie was talking about this from the stand. She can't look like this. No one can see her. So he said to his bodyguard, right? Get rid of her. Get rid of her. What does that mean? Kidnap her. Take her somewhere. Watch her until all that heals up. That's kidnapping. And the fact that you can bark that order out and have it taken care of without someone going, "Beg your pardon? You wanted to do what?" That's a criminal organization, right? This ain't rocket science. That is a criminal organization. A guy that's just in a relationship and maybe he's not good to his girl and he put hands on her or whatever. He doesn't look at people in the room and say, "Go get AR-15s. Get the ones without serial numbers," right? You go up, blow up Kid Cudi's car. You hide my girlfriend until her bruises heal. Get a whole Florida hotel if you have to. Whatever the hell you got to do. Yeah, this isn't right. Does that sound like a relationship, or does it sound like a gangster? And I mean that in the true sense of the word, as in you're sitting up there like the Godfather, and you got a whole bunch of people. We're here to serve him, right? Your job is to serve him. That's not a job, right? I don't know what the hell it is, but it ain't a job. It's way more like a gang, right? You know, you're in, you're in for life. Sounds way more like a gang to me than it does anybody just going to work. That's a weird work environment right there. Weird work environment. There's a gentleman that got chased all through New York for wearing the wrong shirt. There are so many stories of Diddy and whoever he grabs and says, let's go. A bodyguard is supposed to guard your body. So chasing people through the city with guns, you're not a bodyguard anymore. You feel me? You're not a bodyguard anymore. You're a criminal. Chasing enemies through cities with guns? Yeah, you're a criminal. You ain't a bodyguard. Bodyguards are supposed to make sure that the people they're guarding don't get shot, stabbed, beat up, right? Basically make sure that they get home safely. That's not what was going on. These guys had way, way more to do than that, right? You got to hide broken girlfriends until they heal, right? Don't let them, if she got a busted nose, you might have to help set up. All of these things that people are facilitating prove RICO. And I got news for you. We're 7 days in. We're going to hear a lot more employees, right? Capricorn, that woman is going to take the stand. And let's see, maybe KK shows up. But if you worked for this guy as his personal assistant, you're either going to be a witness or you're going to be a defendant. There's no other option. Straight up. And I guarantee you there's going to be at least one or two people that just go, I'm not telling. They're going to soldier up. There'll be one or two. And they'll get really long prison sentences. They might get the full album, right? The long play, the LP that you ain't getting out. Diddy's facing life on this, people. You get that? He is facing life. Talking heads will say he's looking at 15 years. I don't know what they're reading. He's absolutely looking at life, right? If that RICO case comes down, if they say guilty on that, and I just don't see how this jury, by the time they're done watching all of this testimony and the evidence, it's going to sound crappy, but whether or not he's guilty, they're still going to find him guilty. Because this is devastating to watch. So many people are coming in and talking about how he just physically beat on people, man. No one was really making good money. It's actually a decent point. Nobody was really making good money except Diddy. Yeah, the guy he wasn't notoriously generous, I guess, with people. You just really got to question, right? And the decisions of all of these people. I don't know. It's when you jump in a car and start chasing people, that really starts to look more like you're a gangster. And the more you look like a gangster, the easier it's going to be for a jury to RICO your ass. It's that simple. Oh, if he gets out, he will start instantly. Instantly. Folks, he had supplies in the room upstairs in the hotel where they caught him. He was getting ready to do a freak off upstairs. That was why he had the big pink bag of coke, the pink cocaine, right, the Tucci. He had that. He had the baby oil was there. He had everything you need, the lube. Yeah, I think he was probably just going out to get to meet up with whoever was going back there for the freak off. And honestly, the forced labor thing, this is one of the crimes that they're alleging is actually forced labor. And a lot of times, you tell somebody, grab that gun and get in the back of a car. I guarantee you that wasn't in his job description. And you can say, well, he knew what he signed up for. Maybe not, because he left right after that. And he left, right? He hadn't been chasing clout. He hasn't been doing interviews. He left. He didn't want anything to do with any of them. And you know what? You remember the documentary? Diddy's best friend lives in the middle of the woods. Looks like that man literally tried to find a place where nobody on earth could find him. Doesn't surprise me. And he's got the golden albums and all the stuff from what he did hidden in a secret room off his toilet. Can't make this stuff up. Yeah, I'd be very, very, very surprised if he got out. Here we go. Sentencing guidelines. Just guidelines. Sentencing guidelines. Pre-sentence report will consider his shooting case with the girl he shot in the face. Yeah, they absolutely will. And I'll tell you something. The PSI is vicious, right? Because when they do the pre-sentence investigation on you, like they can call the first girl you ever dated in high school. There's no structure. They can do anything they want to put that report together. Like I sat down and they said, your friends say that you're doing more than 8 or 9 grams of heroin a day. I was like, obviously not my friends. He's like, they're lying. I'm like, no, they're telling the truth, but they obviously are not my friends. If they were my friends, they wouldn't be telling you that, right? But really, yeah, the guidelines. It's a 2 access. 1 access tells you all it is criminal history, and you're going to have points going, from you got arrested once for having a beer, that's no points, and you got 5 felonies. That's going to be 3 for each felony. That's 15, and then they keep bonusing you on for other stuff. How old were you when you first got one? All right, did you get a prison sentence for that? Did you complete parole? And they just keep adding points, and pretty soon you're at all the way over as far to the right as you can possibly get. And then the vertical access is going to be from a 1 to like a 42 or something like that. And the 1 is if you got caught in a public park with an open beer, right? You could even get probation in the feds on that. It's almost nothing. You're getting caught with 1 fake $20 bill. It's a crime that they're not just gonna, you're not going away for it. All the way up to kidnapping and things like that, which start at a minimum of 360 months, and go all the way up to life. And then there are certain things that just carry a life sentence. And when they give you a life sentence in the feds, it is a life sentence. It isn't in 20 years you got a shot at getting. There's none of that. If they give you a life sentence in the Fed, it's natural life, unless you can get an attorney who's good enough, right, to do some post-conviction work and get them to look at your case. And that is a very difficult process and procedure. Folks, I'm going to go back down to the hospital. I'm hoping tomorrow that life will be back to normal, but I'm going to have to go and do the right thing. So between now and the next time I see you, do me a favor and reduce a little harm, right? Be kinder to one another. It's actually a really beautiful thing. Connection is the opposite of addiction. See you on the next one. And stop looking for happiness the same place you lost it.